Yeah, we're so excited that you all are here, and just excited to connect. Like Regina and I were both on a call. Time blurs for me these days. Like 1 week seems like 6 weeks. So I don't even remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. But we were on a call together, and we were talking about actions we can take, and how we can all take a stand and really stand up for being anti-racist, and what that looks like, and how we can bring it into our lives and into our business and just into our being. And Regina and I connected, and I don't even know how that happened, but we just, like, I don't know, I felt an instant connection to you when I saw you and was listening to you talk. And I didn't even know, I'm an intuitive, so I have a natural ability to just attract myself to good energy and to people. And I just felt that with you. I just felt your energy. And yeah, I knew we would be a fit. So
I remember seeing your square at the bottom, and I was like, I think it looked like pink hair at the time.
Yeah.
It was light or more concentrated, and I was like, who is that at the bottom? Like, you look like a little yogi, and I was like, I don't know. And then my profile was like, she's a yogi. Okay, nice. So yes, definitely felt that too. Definitely.
Yeah. So here we are, and it's also, yes, salt of the earth. I believe that. Yeah, it's also just talking about like synchronicity and life, and just how God, spirit, universe works and bringing people together. Because I've been having for a while, like, this voice. I meditate every day, and I've been hearing this voice say that I'm meant to lead, like, have conversations with people, and authentic conversations kept coming up. And then I was like, I don't know if it's a podcast. I don't know what it is. And then right after we got that call, it may have even been on the call, Regine sent me a message and was like, hey, would you be interested in doing an Instagram live? And I was like, yeah, I would. And it was just like, it was so great, because that just shows you that, and we'll talk about this tonight, but it really shows you that when you have, like, you may just get a voice or hear a voice tell you something, and you don't really know how it's going to work. When it's aligned, the right people and places and everything it's going to show up in your life.
Absolutely.
So.
And I don't even know what, at the time when I was like, when I asked you, do you want to be on live? Because I had never been on live, and I was like, that's a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
You know, like, but, and it clicked today, and I was like, I really asked to do a live. Like, this is really out of your comfort zone. Like, whew. But like you said, it's a tug. You just gotta just lean into it. Don't resist it. Something there for you, bigger than us, you know. So
yeah,
you know, I feel that.
Yeah, so here we are. Yeah, and then just like Regina and I have been talking and learning more about each other's story, and really looking at how can I feel like unity is what we need right now. And it's interesting, because I was thinking the other day, it's like, we're called the United States of America, and it feels like the divided states.
Right.
And I feel like, yes, we are still divided. Like, it's still very much 50-50 in many ways. And I also feel that there is this unity among all of us. It's just, we each have to be willing to put ourselves out there. And like, even this, it's like, we're both doing a live, and I feel like COVID has kind of provided that space for a lot of people to just try new things.
Absolutely.
And so it's just like, and now it's kind of like, I'm feeling the energy of the nation and everything that's happening over the past just few weeks. And it's like, looking at, like, and we'll talk about this, but looking at like where we have a choice. And my choice has not been I don't feel like I'm meant to just sit and watch It's like, I gotta step up. It's time. I gotta come out of my cocoon, come out of my hole.
That's right. It's going to take, you have to get uncomfortable to reach a level, unified level of comfortability.
Yeah.
If one group is uncomfortable, is not right, then you can't have unity at all.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
definitely. Got some more people joining us.
Yeah. And yeah, what Donna said, it starts with one person connecting to another, and that's unity.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. And looking at, like, unity doesn't mean that we're always going to agree.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we're going to see things the same way. I believe, though, that it means that we have a commitment to hearing and seeing one another, and a commitment to action. And so, yeah, that's another area we'll talk about tonight.
And you know what? Honestly, the unity, when you say you don't have to agree, like within the Black community, we all don't have, a list of the same demands that we feel like this is first, second, third, so on and so on. But yet we still are, fighting for the same thing, trying to achieve the same thing. So even though we may not agree that, we should really focus on voter rights or, police dismantling of that first, but still we're all making strides towards the same goal. It's about finding your role and where you fit into that puzzle piece.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's a beautiful way to start our conversation, is encouraging everybody who's listening, whether you're listening live or you're catching the replay, to listen and learn from this discussion and hear for yourself, where do you fit into the puzzle? And puzzles are all different sizes and shapes and colors, and so it's like, you find you're your own unique shape, color, size. You're your own unique puzzle piece, and where do you fit into the big picture? And so I think that's what we're going to talk about today. And I want to start by just having, we can each just share a little bit about ourselves and where we are, who we are, and then from there kind of talk about finding clarity, purpose, and then turning that into action. Because I think so often it's like we get the idea and then we
get stuck.
We're just like stuck, or I'm not good enough. Somebody else is doing this already. Who am I to do it? All of that. So, yeah. All right. So I would love to start by just hearing you kind of tell our audience and tell everybody who's on here a little bit about yourself and how your shirt, I remember. Just tell us a little bit about you and your platform. And
so hello everyone. My name is Reginé Bumper, and so pretty much how my journey kind of began started in undergrad at Shandor University. I knew when I first got there, 2015, that college was this idea that you're supposed to grow into something else, like this whole world that you've yet to experience, which is very true. And so I didn't know what that looked like, and I wanted to find some way somehow to like tap into that. And I remember there was like a global affairs travel abroad event, and they had a trip to Ghana at the time, but I didn't have the financial means to go, and I told myself, as well as my mom, I was like, I gotta get out of the country. I gotta go somewhere before I leave this university, however long it takes me. I gotta go. And so ultimately I was able to go to my first trip abroad to Uganda and Rwanda the summer leading into my senior year. And that trip was more so service and education. So we went, it was two groups. One was more of a health team, and then our team was more of, we were traveling throughout the village, a rural village, with the nonprofit Nayaka AIDS Orphan Project to interview these grannies. And so these grannies over in Uganda are pretty much the primary caretakers for these kids because of the AIDS epidemic. And that just kind of like pretty much wiped out a whole generation, which would be these children now, their parents. Because of AIDS, they no longer have HIV/AIDS. They no longer have their parents. So these grannies throughout the community have taken in children, grandchildren of their own, and not to raise them up. And so Nyaka was wanting to create a tangible book of the history because they don't have one. And so that's why we were there to get their stories. And it's current. The book is still formulating right now. So after that trip, I came back to SU and I was like, yeah, this is life. Life really, I think the book of life started to really open up. Because I knew that wasn't it. This can't be it,
Yeah.
Just one trip and then we're done. So that's pretty much how this whole my company, Reginé Bumper LLC, started. And so after Uganda and Rwanda, I went to Haiti, still with my graduate school, with some students for sure seminar, where we were learning about the connection between West Africa and Haiti. We actually went to Haiti, learned about it. Grateful that she opened up her borders to us. It was very welcoming. And then a few months later, I went to Thailand under a program called the Global Citizenship Project. And Thailand kind of just summed it all together. And after Thailand, it was like, okay, you've got to do something, but not sure yet. And then one night I had a dream about a book, and I was like, I don't know where that fits in, but you tell me, Lord, like, I don't know. So I sat on a little bit, and I was like, I'm just gonna start it. I don't know where it'll take me, but I knew that somebody else needed it more than myself. And so it served as a token to those of my community, of my family, who I know may not be able to travel, financial reasons, circumstances, that's just their reality. And so I wanted to bring them back something tangible that they could be able to have that experience in some regard. And so the book honestly has turned into something I didn't think it would.
Imagine that.
The feedback I've gotten from it is just, it wowed me than what I ever imagined when I first started. And so now I've been able to realize more of the reasoning for this book, why I originally started. And that too is to motivate, empower young women, particularly young women of color, to be their best selves, to give them the guts so that they feel like, I want to open up that makeup, that online, e-commerce beauty shop. I want to do that. Or, I want to go for that law degree. It's nothing. Or, I want to teach, make impact in some regard. So that's what Reginé Bumper LLC has become. Oh, the name of the book is...
And I'm typing it in the chat too, so you can...
I Remember the Paths Walked. We're actually going to be raffling one off tonight.
Yeah.
So if you stick with us.
Yeah, stay on. Get one.
You could get one.
Yeah, and we'll drop in Regine's link also so that you can get a copy. And that's what I want to go through that too. I've already, look at this. I'm like started and I'm like already highlighting. I'm like, we were talking right before this and I told Regina, I was like, you are so wise. Like, I wish if I could look back, I'm like 22 years old and I'm thinking like, I've been talking, and we'll laugh. Allison, one of my coaches, is on this call, and I've been talking for 2 years about writing a book. And I've made, like, I have an outline and chapters and everything. And it's just like seeing that you've done this work. it's just amazing and such an inspiration. And yes, and Allison, I will actually connect you with Allison Regine. She was in Dallas, and for 16 years, she owned a nonprofit called Allie's House, and she supported teen moms. And
Yes.
and she had a big mission there. And but yeah, I want to talk, like, it's really cool, like, hearing your story and hearing the parallels in the way that I was 19 the first time I left the US, and it was also through a study abroad program. I went to Vienna, Austria, and it changed my life. And I walked away from that trip knowing that I want every child in this world should have an opportunity to travel outside of their country and outside of their culture. And founder, okay, I got you, Allison. But it really opened my eyes to seeing that there's not one way to live. And I think that we can become so comfortable with where we are, our surroundings, our neighborhood, hanging out with people who look like us, doing things that other people are interested in. It's like, it just becomes comfort. And it's when you learn to open and expand that and step outside of that, that I really feel that life really starts to happen. And that's kind of what travel opened up, that hunger inside of me. And I knew it was like, I got to keep going. I want to see more. I want to learn more. I want to go to more places. And I took my journey. I did the college path. I studied abroad, and then I got a job right out of college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And 11 years later, I was at the same job. It's like, I got the first job and I stayed. And I did have different roles within it, but I was just like, I got comfortable. And I continued to travel. Like, I kind of had a work to travel mentality. And so I would take a trip every couple of years with some girlfriends from college. But the desire, every time I'd go out of the country, I was like, I know there's more. I know there's more out there that I want to see. I know I'm meant for more. And not to discount having like the comfortable, like, American life of staying and having a job and security like that. Yes, I miss the security right now. But then I left that 2 years ago. I finally was like, enough. I've got to take a chance and just see what it's like. And so I left, and I sold most of my belongings, got rid of my apartment, sold my car, and I bought a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia. And then I've been traveling now for 2 years. And of course I'm grounded. This is the first time I've been grounded in 2 years. And it was on my journey that I kind of found what it was that I was looking for. And really it came down to me wanting to support locals wherever I go. And really looking at like, oh yeah, there's all these big companies and big corporations, and there's convenience everywhere we go. But what about the people behind the scenes? It's like, what about those people? What about the ones who we never hear their story? We don't hear like what they're doing, how they came to be. And they're really the ones who are doing it. And so I started doing photo shoots just for fun. And it turned into kind of this big mission for me to support local designers and artisans and photographers, and learn their stories and hear how they came to be. And so that's kind of what has opened up for me. But I want to start by kind of just talking about clarity and how travel provides clarity for, and just even not even necessarily like you have to leave your own country, but just stepping out of your neighborhood and going somewhere else where people look different, things are different, and kind of talk about like, what was that like for you? Like, how did you find clarity when you got off the plane? And I want to start, just to start that conversation. I actually just want to read a quick page from your book. and open this up to you, just kind of sharing a little bit more about clarity and your journey. So in the beginning of your book, you have a title that says, "I'm going home." I was lost. To be frank with you, I still am. But at 21 years of age, I was fighting an internal battle regarding my identity. Without a doubt, I knew my roots lied in Africa. Like so many Black Americans, because of history, slave trade, and trauma, I had no direct connection to my homeland and culture. This was causing the void I felt inside me. I knew I could not change the things I had no control over, history and a direct lineage of contact. So I decided to change what I did have control over, which was my knowledge about my heritage. So can you talk to us a little bit about how going to Africa and knowledge provided clarity for you in finding your identity?
Yeah. So the first time when I first got off the plane, we were in Rwanda, Kigali. It was just like the air, the ground, just standing there, fresh off tarmac. It was like an internal, like a feeling of, I felt secure. And so I knew, like you have read, I knew that's where I was from. I knew that going into it. But at the same time, I knew that because I was so distant that I wasn't a native per se, because of, I live in America. And so throughout the whole entire time we were there, about 2.5 weeks, it brought a lot of attention to identity. And for, I think, the first time in my life, I had really thought about who I was outside of the exterior. I see my skin color, I see the shape, I see my hair, I see my hands, XYZ, but it was like being there, I actually had time to sit and think about, okay, who am I? What makes up my character? Why is my character that way? Why, when I feel this way, why do I, my actions are this way? Why do I perform in this manner? And so being in Africa, it was like I got those answers. And like you said, you don't have to travel abroad. You could be from Chile or Peru or anywhere else in the world, but you may not be able to go there directly. But just being in an environment outside of yourself allows you to think or really examine deep within yourself. Like your morals, your values, this, that, and the third. And so the clarity came from various interactions with natives, noticing, taking a step outside of myself. So really observing how the natives looked at me, how they greeted me, or how they carried themselves around me. It was like, okay, I do belong here. These are my people. And as far as all those growing up, I struggled with self-esteem. I had low self-esteem. So, it's a battle every day to own that. And so it was like, for the first time, I didn't feel that way. And that was because I felt connected to my people, to my roots. All those insecurities that I felt were lies, because I didn't know myself outside of the exterior. I didn't know the inside, the core of myself. And so traveling to Africa allowed me to begin the work, because it's an ongoing thing. It's not a one-stop shop.
No, we wish it was. We wish.
Right. It's ongoing. It's a lifetime.
We're always
once
learning.
You start, right. Once you get on that roller coaster, you're on. So no eject button. So I really started the work of really getting to know myself. I'm still finding out things about myself to this day. But in that way, that's how Africa brought me some clarity about who I am, answers to what I've experienced, and then going forward, how to own those experiences and try to change that for the future of somebody else so they don't have to go through that.
Yeah, and I think like, oh, when you were sharing your story with me when we talked the other day, it's I just had this sense of like, it's like as a white person, I I don't have that experience of, I mean, yes, through my travels a little bit I've had the experience of being a minority. Um, but it's not the same. And it's like I was just feeling chills, like picturing you like what it would be like to live in your own country, and you walk into class and maybe you're the only black person in your class, and it's like all white people, or there's not many who look like you in that, and then going somewhere and stepping off a plane and just getting that sense right away that this is home. Like, that just really, it gave me chills when I thought about that, and just thought about like that connection and what that's like to, and I think you even talk about that in the book about learning, like learning your heritage, and getting like all of this is for all of us, is like learning where we came from, who our ancestors were, so that we can start to kind of take the thread and see like how it's all weaving together, and
Exactly.
also taking that thread and like unweaving it, like looking at like, oh, if your family, if you're noticing your roots or your generations were people who owned slaves and were part of that, it's like, yeah, you can't change that. Like, we cannot change who we are, where we came from, the color of our skin, any of that. But we can change that weaving and untie. Like, I look at it, I have this visual of like, really, like, it's almost like cutting a cord to that and kind of setting that free and taking a stand in that way. And I think that clarity, it opens up so much for that. And it's kind of like you stepping off that plane was almost like putting on a new pair of glasses and seeing life a little differently.
Yeah, it's freeing, like, getting to know your history. It's freeing. It can be troubling for some, like you mentioned, if you know your history, your peeps come from owning slaves, right? You have no control over that. But in you knowing that, and the people who have come before you, you're able to kind of identify things within yourself. So one would say, I'm not racist, but my great great grandfather was, and that's what they did, but that's not a reflection of me. Correct. However, the actions of your great great grandfather can tell you about the implicit biases that you may not know about yourself, unintentionally, and
Right.
that's okay. But by you taking initiative to know the people who came before you, you can then, like you said, unweave the threads and say, I don't like the way this sweater's getting stitched. We gonna take a new thread and we gonna make it purple because I don't like this orange.
I don't have to be a part of. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's powerful
And
in that.
it's you bringing that up. Just I've been thinking about this, and I've been taking time for myself to just reflect on everything that's happening in our country, and I've really had to sit with the word racist, because up until a few weeks ago, racist in my mind was a bad word that you don't say. Like, it was categorized for white supremacists and people with hate in their heart. Like, that's really how I viewed it. And so if you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said, no, I'm not racist. I have a love in my heart for all people, and especially people who look differently than me, because I know the challenges are not the same, and I gravitate towards that. And so I would have been in denial. And the more I learn about it, and hear about it, and I'm reading the book, How to Become Anti-Racist, and it really has opened my eyes. And I think that's the clarity too, is learning about that and owning it. And so it's like, I'm really taking time to dissect in my own life, like, yeah, where am I racist? And where can I own it? And where can I like stop it? Because I think the part of being anti-racist is, it's not saying you're not racist,
Right.
but it's saying that you're really taking a stand to really stand up, speak out, own your own mistakes, because we're going to make them. We're going to say the wrong things. And I was on a call last night, and there was a doctor, Erica Hines, and she said that be humble and ready to fumble. And I was like, I like that, because I feel like that's the part with silence, is it's like people aren't speaking up or speaking out because they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing or offend someone, or who am I to say that? And so that's what I'm learning with that. And I think that's awareness that comes as us learning. And I think the more that we can learn about our history, and kind of, like you said, knit a new sweater, like let's just all knit new sweaters and kind of start again there.
Exactly.
But also just like stepping outside of your comfort zone. And being around people, having discussions with people who don't even agree with you. And that's really what I feel is a big miss right now. Is I keep seeing all over on social media, they're like, oh, I just lost another friend today. And it's like celebrating. It's like almost people are celebrating because people are unfriending them because of what they're saying. And really, I think that's not the goal, because then that continues to create division.
Right.
And really, unity is, no, it's like we have differences and we're going to come together and we're going to talk about it.
Exactly.
And love, like have love be at the source of it.
Exactly. And like I see Miss Donna says, like safe spaces, the more we come together, the safer these spaces can become amongst opposing viewpoints. And two, like you said, you have to get uncomfortable. Recently I've been saying, like, it's grow time, like,
it's grow time. Yeah.
Play on words. Like nothing grows out of comfortability. We know that, like, I'm sure we were scared to go to the next grade, but we went anyway, and we grew from that. So that's how I like to look at it, especially in this time. If marching or calling out somebody who's being offensive makes you uncomfortable, well, that's because you're supposed to call them out. You're supposed to call out the wrong in this world to ultimately achieve what you say you want. You say you want this world to be a better place, so let's call it out, and make growth toward what we want it to be. So right.
Yeah. And it's I'm learning too. It's like I've had people respond to my stories about, like, no, you're not supposed to be, why are you posting that? Or that's not the intention of Blackout Tuesday, and like calling me out on things. And at first I was like, somebody sent me a message and I was getting heated by it. And I was like, my first reaction was like, how dare you tell me how I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. And I stopped and I paused and allowed myself to sit with it and think, like, okay, what is this really about? And I'm like, it's not about the comment or anything. It's more of like me, like, it's kind of like a reflection. It's a mirror. And so I sat with it. And because I allowed myself to ground rather than just acting on impulse, I was able to go back to the person and say, well, actually, I saw it a different way. And then the person came back, was like, oh yeah, I guess I could see it that way too. And so it was more like, I feel like too, it's like how we come at each other too is important, because so often we want to, like, if we're mad, we want to act like in the moment and with impulse. And sometimes you need to just calm yourself and take a step back before responding.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree.
So, so with your journey and just kind of unfolding and getting more of a clear vision about your identity and learning about more about your history, where did purpose start coming into play with that and finding your purpose and then translating that into writing? It's like, I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna start a company. Like,
great question. A lot of discomfort. That's where it came from. So with the book, right? Like I said, I wanted it to be for people, particularly who look like me, but people who would probably 9 times out of 10 never get on a plane and go somewhere. But then as I was writing this, it was an opportunity to do a lot of self-reflection throughout my own life. And so the things that I had learned from my time in those places, I was like, well, dang, if I had known, if I had known this like freshman year of college or so, like maybe I could have, avoided, this happening, or I could have cried 20% less. I don't know, over something foolish. So I was like, this can help another young lady kind of avoid, people say mistakes, but hardships or times of emotional or mental or spiritual intensity that they don't necessarily have to. So I was like, yeah, like this is good. Like this is good for them too. And so the book, when I finished the book in December, I was promoting that, but I was like, there's just more that, there's just more to it besides the book. 'Cause everybody's not a reader. And so that's kind of like where I am right now. COVID kind of messing things up, but
I like to throw a wrench in some
right.
things.
COVID just got in the way.
We're creative though. Look at us.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was like, there's just some more that I got to do. And so I talked to a lady here, Kimberly Leemore, author, self-publishing author here, a book club, and she was telling me some jewels, so dropping some jewels on me, and she was like, you need to get your LLC. If you plan on making, continue this on, going bigger, like you've got to get an LLC to be legit. And so I saved up my coin and I did that, and I don't know at the time, I didn't know exactly what it would turn into, how it would formulate, look like. But I was like, there's a bunch of young women out here who don't know the first place to start as to living out their purpose, what they're supposed to do, having the guts to just go for it. And so that's why Regime Bumper LLC is what it is today. Still growing and glowing. Talking to people like Robin, a friend of mine, Marcia, speaks her podcast every week that she has, Miss Donna Barr. Just speaking, reaching out as much as I can to these young women, because I'm on a mission for young women of color, to be their best selves, because we've already got a whole bunch against us. I mean, one, we're women, and then two, the color, people just see the color of your skin. That's just the world we live in. That's not how we want to be, but that's reality. And so, no matter what life comes at you with, you're still here for a reason. And when you get that clarity of why you're here, you know yourself, you connect with the divine, you get that grounding, you can make that purpose, you start that purpose full throttle and just be gone.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's I love that it's like I don't know, it's almost like a seed was planted when you were in Africa and then continued your travels in Haiti and Thailand, and seeing, and I'm just curious what parallels you saw between seeing like people live differently in different cultures versus like seeing people and your experience as being a Black American woman. Like if you noticed any parallels in your travels or going through any of the places, like we were talking about just, you know, how it's different. It's like you're in Rwanda and it's like we stress about having to drive to the store, and here are these women with a baby strapped on the front and the back and carrying a basket of bananas on their head, walking miles to get food or water. And yet even in that, they still have their purpose. And they have their vision of supporting their families and providing for them, and they'll go whatever distance it takes to do that. And so looking at like, it's almost like, I know we can't compare. It's like, yeah, we can't, our reality is different than somebody else's reality. And at the same time, I look at it like, oh, well, why am I not following my purpose or putting myself out there?
Yeah. So you hit it a good example. A lot of the women everywhere, Haiti, Africa, Thailand, they make it happen. I'm going to specifically focus on the women, because that's my mission for. They make it happen, and I know a lot of. So in my world, I come from a single parent home. My mom, it's just me, my mom and I, and all my life I've seen her just make it happen. Like it didn't matter. So despite the mother in Rwanda walking, she may not have any shoes, but she's got her baby, and she's got her food to the marketplace that she finna sell, and you trade that to get some food for tonight to make. But despite those differences in appearance, my mom was pretty much doing the same thing. She was getting her work done, going to work, going to school, taking care of herself at the same time and myself to make it happen. So these women, both everywhere, they make it happen. Nothing stops them. And I think a big difference of what I noticed is that the focus on beauty is not at the forefront like it is over there. So over here, we already know snatched waist, chest, back, like you got the whole deal. But over there, it's just like your purpose isn't here to look pretty. That's not why you're still here. You have more. Yes, you look nice, but what else are you meant to do? And I appreciate that so much, that theme over there of having more. So the women, they're not stuck on the beauty, because for me, for a long time, being stuck on, like I said, struggling with low self-esteem, that impeded me from a whole lot of stuff. I'm over here worried about, I don't know, does it look right? I mean, are they looking at me? I don't know what they're thinking. Whereas if I didn't have that, primary focus, then I would have been able to execute what I was there to do, because my purpose my presence is not on accident, it's on purpose. So that I could have carried out the mission a little bit better. So that's probably the main difference and similarity I noticed in the women, as far as purpose. And the argument, we can't not address it, of gender roles, right? It's different over there and over here. But when you come to think about it, we still have gender roles to some standard. It just may not be solely for motherhood, but it may be, you have to be 6-figure earning woman, a successful success is defined differently. So we still have those standards, but the point is, whatever mission, whatever purpose that woman feels that they have been assigned to do, they're the best at it.
Yeah.
And they don't care, you know, the other mom may be well off, their house may be, you know, put together, thatched a little bit better than ours, but my purpose is to be the best mom for these children, or the best, you know, over here. So that
yeah, no, and I love that, because it's also comes down to ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what your purpose is, because it's interesting. It's like I think about, like, I think most girls probably go through the struggle of, you know, owning our looks, our identity, peer pressure, wanting to wear all the brands and all of
Right.
that. And I went through all of that in middle school, high school, and it wasn't until I got to college and then started traveling that I really kind of started shedding more and more of that. And it wasn't until I did my very first photo shoot in 2015 that I saw that, oh, wow, I'm actually beautiful.
Yes.
And you don't need a photo shoot to show you that, but it opened my eyes to something different, because it was about ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And it was finally not comparing myself to somebody else, my size, my height, how big my nose is, my chin, whatever, any of that. It didn't matter. I was owning it, and I'm like, oh, this is me. And I think that that's really what it comes down to, is whatever your purpose is, it comes back to each of us authentically owning it, like really truly uncovering what it is our desire is, and be the change. Like, we hear that all the time, be the change you wish to be in the world. And what is that change? And it's finding your purpose in that way. And it looks different for everyone. Like, oh my goodness, I just think your mother I know just by looking at you that your mother is an amazing human being. Like, I saw Donna type that in there, but I'm just like, man, your mom just must be so proud of you. And just like knowing, like, even for her, what that must have felt like when you were going to Africa and getting on a plane and going to the other side of the world.
Yeah, she's prior military, so she's traveled a few places other than war, like Germany, and things of that nature. But I could tell, especially by my latest trip, well, Thailand last year, she could see the growth within me, and that's what inspired me to want to inspire other young women to do the same. So, you know, like you said, owning that purpose, owning your roots, owning yourself, so you can have that clarity to continue your journey of growth, ownership, and being confident in it.
Yeah, confident.
Okay. Like, you know, there's only one you.
Yep.
You know, someone may look like you, but they're not you. And so, you know, be the best you that you can be, you know, just being you, like you said, authentically. People can read energy better than what one would like to think, but
totally.
Taking that energy, that true energy, and putting it somewhere where you say you can make a difference. Like we mentioned earlier, the puzzle piece. You know, a puzzle is incomplete if it's missing one. And so if you feel as though like, well, there's already a million people doing this, why even me? Because someone needs you. Someone is waiting for you, strictly for what you have to give, you know. So by you not owning that mission, that purpose, someone else is losing out. Their purpose, their life purpose plan is delayed because of your own lag in knowing and confidently owning your purpose.
Yeah. And then just kind of taking that, and I know we only have a few minutes left before Instagram. We were joking and saying that when we're both famous and get our 10,000 likes or 10,000 followers, we'll have more time. But right now we're looking for an hour. So,
right.
But it's like taking that purpose and then turning that into action.
Yes.
And so it was clear that you went on your mission, you went on your trip, you found clarity, you learned more about your identity and owning who you are, and then finding purpose within that. And then you turned that purpose into action by writing your book, starting your company. And now you're even doing it by getting on conversations like this, or on podcasts, or on in different town hall meetings or safe spaces. And so I want to just let everyone know that you have, if they go to your Instagram and click on your link, you actually have a resource page set up for the Black Lives Movement. And go look at it, because it's awesome. What I love about it is you have so many things that people wouldn't even think could be something that you could do, like providing milk and bread and Band-Aids and stuff to the protesters. And also just knowing, like, in your book, you say, in every situation, we have a choice. We may not have many choices, and they may not be favorable or preferred choices, but we do have a choice. In those moments, I chose to let go of the disrupting internal pain that history had created inside of me. And that, I feel, is where we're at right now. It's like we all have a choice. Are we going to stand up and speak out and come together and find unity, create safe spaces, or are we going to sit back and stay silent and be in our comfort in that way and just watch everything happen?
Right. Either you're in the game or you're spectating. You know, and everyone wants to be a Michael Jordan in the game, right? So like now more than ever is the time. And like you said, protesting is not for everybody. I get that. You know, you may the crowding just may not be, you're just not there in space for that, and that is okay. You know, you can if you're at a space, a level to, give milk, water, Band-Aids to protesters. If you're first aid, medical certified, you can have set up, you don't have to be grand, just have your first aid nurse. I'm a nurse, I'm a PA, I'm a CNA, they're ready, to help people. If you're in education, educating yourself, there's a bunch of books out by Black authors that share straight directly from experience what this is life, what it's like for Black people in America. So reading, and then incorporating that in your classes if you're a professor. So taking that literature and expanding it outside of the template textbook that's made largely by white men in America. Doesn't give a diverse perspective. That goes for finance, African American studies, science, criminology, in all realms. If you're in finance, you can teach Black Americans financial literacy. We all know that the pay gap, the household gap, is humongous between white families and Black families. So,
and even white women and Black women, like women automatically get paid less, but Black women get
exactly doing that. Let's see, if you're an educator, primary or secondary school, still incorporating there's a whole lot of picture books, depending on levels of your students, having them read those. you know, while in class or over the summer, because right now we're teleschool right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Signing petitions, emailing your local politicians. Fast, boom, vote, okay, guys, and
Vote. Yes.
don't just
Vote.
vote in November, guys.
Yeah.
Vote for
Vote.
those local elections,
Yes.
because it's a
Change
level.
happens. Change
Exactly.
happens at the
Is
local
equally
level.
just as
Yep.
important. So June 23rd, Virginia, go vote. If you didn't have absentee, go out there and vote.
Yeah.
We got a minute and a half left, Robin.
Oh man, we're doing good. We got this.
Lord.
Yeah, and just I think the to bring this all home is just really like find your puzzle. We're each a puzzle piece, and find where you fit.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to look different. Support Black, Indigenous, people of color. Buy their products. Buy Regine's book. She sells masks too, so it's like even down to little things like that. Like support each other. If you have a platform where you have conversations, make sure you're inviting Black women, especially women, but men too, but women. Just invite them to your platform and take a seat. Hand the mic over.
Right. Yeah. And like you do photography, local beauticians, local photographers, hairstylists, all that. Yeah. Register, get 10 people to fill out the census, all that.
Yeah.
Vote. So we can do this, y'all. Together we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do this. Get that clarity, purpose, and make it happen.